wanted to show you a quick mock-up I made of a, it's basically meant to look like Microsoft's Outlook apps calendar. So on the right here, right now, this is just actually a live screen from my real phone that's got the Outlook app installed. And you can kind of see a couple things. So there's a couple of views here. The top view is the calendar view. The bottom view is the agenda. I've got no events on most of those. I've got a fake one called toothbrush in there. But basically, as you scroll the bottom, you see the top dates change, which is what it's supposed to do. If I scroll the top, you see, or at the bottom, the agenda view, you see the top is sort of small, 2 rows. But if I start scrolling in the top expands into being 5 weeks worth of dates. If I tap on a particular date, the bottom agenda view moves to match it. As you start to scroll the top, you also see all the cells gray out, and it overlays the name of the month, so August, September. So if you're scrolling quickly, you can kind of see, oh yeah, let's see, I want October. Makes it really easy. So that's the actual app, the actual Microsoft app that I was sort of trying to duplicate. Now, I didn't do full feature. I've got dummy data in mind, but this is the live one. So let's close out of that one and go to my simulator here. And hopefully this builds. Been going back and forth between the Xcode 10 and Xcode 9.4.1, Xcode 10 beta, and there's some changes there, so I hope I got it right. And this project was meant to be a, oh, I got to run it on the actual file, sorry. I forgot to run it on the simulator, sorry here. This was meant to be an example of programmatic UI, so there's no storyboards or nibs or XIBs or whatever being used on this, which is fine, although it did take a little longer than I expected, a couple of days to get this all knocked out. So anyway, there's kind of how it starts. You know, if I kind of start scrolling here, the top scrolls just like it did on the other one. I've got some fake data in here. Zach Soccer, Burger with Joe, Coffee with Samuel Jackson, Leave Early. This one's supposed to represent an event where I've got multiple attendees, so these people have also been invited, so they're going to go. Here's the day with 2 of them. But basically the behavior is pretty much the same. You know, the thing scrolls on the top when you move. If I start scrolling the top section, it gets, you know, animates smaller, animates bigger. Whichever section you're in is the one that's big. Scroll these, I've got the same sort of graying out and the date showing. So that's pretty much the same. I did change one thing, and this October is actually centered. If you go back to the other one, it's really annoying. Watch this. Oh, I think I closed it. So, never mind. The other one's actually centered. It's off-center. The actual real app is October. This date is not centered correctly. I wonder if I can bring it up. Show all windows. Oops, that didn't work. All right, well, it's closed, so you're out of luck. Anyway, that's pretty much that. Code-wise, maybe I'll post this, but you know, app delegate's basically blank. Your main storyboard, you can see that there's basically nothing here. There's a tab bar controller, just has the word calendar here, and it goes to a blank view controller. That, like I said, everything's programmatic. So these buttons at the top are just dummies because those would be other functions in the app. Calendar view controller, you know, everything's here code-wise. Got the thing to do the animation between the small and large. Some constraints, you know, pretty straightforward stuff. It basically builds 2 different views. There's the calendar view and the agenda view. That's calendar view, agenda view. Calendar view, they each have a collection view. I could have used a list view on this agenda, but I thought I was going to need to maybe do more customization that is a little easier with collection view than list view, but ended up not doing that. Some data model, basically my calendar event is here, which is basically very similar, simple stuff. Title, description, which isn't even used, location, start time, length. If the length isn't given, then it's not the event. List of attendees, and a category, which is how this brown dot is selected. You know, the attendees are just first name, last name, image, because like I said, not a real app. In reality, this would be probably a link to like a contact entry for that person or something. Calendar event category. I just made up a few categories. In reality, we'd probably want these to be extensible by the user. So maybe we use a protocol and have a couple of structure classes that conform. This is the data that actually gets used in the calendar cell, like in the top cell. Agenda cell data is the data that gets used for the bottom cell. So basically, calendar view controller takes the general data which is in calendar event, which is that class, and then creates agenda cell data and calendar cell data structs to pass to each of the things. Dummy data. There's all my dummy data. So exactly what it sounds like. And let's see. Got a number of extensions I made here. I've got one for date just to do some simple. I made some nicer initializers so you can actually put in your month, day, which was helpful for the dummy data. Comparison occurs on the same day. Some things to break down date components and return some strings, which are used here, like 4 a.m. and Wednesday, October 3rd. Time interval extension, again, just to break out hours, minutes, and return it as a string, which is used here. So it says 45M for this one. If you go back, it says 2830M. That's 2 hours, 30 minutes. That gets done. That's here. UI image extension. The only thing I did here is the thing to draw a circle because I made circles for these little dots, and I made a circle here for this blue. You know, it's just easier to have it in an extension. Collection view. Oh yeah, I just did an extension on this to apply some constraints to link the content view with the actual size of the cell. It's the model, calendar, and agenda. I mean, those are pretty straightforward. You know, there's a collection view, the cell itself, which, you know, just has some properties and not much else. Oh, and some little code here to do the overlay of the month. So it does the, you know, the reduces the alpha on all the other cells, and then also allows this overlay text to go to 100% on the alpha. Let's see, help reviews. Those are kind of boring. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing something. Extensions, model, calendar. I guess that's it. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, help reviews are just nothing. It's just a way to set intrinsic size to use, which makes the auto layout a little bit easier. Icon image view, kind of the same thing for the icons, which is really just used for these things. It's just to force the intrinsic size to use to match the size I want rather than the size of the image, which was what it would do by default. And then I've also got some tests, which the structure is exactly the same as the project itself. Let's run some tests here. And but I got tests on each of the major pieces here. I don't know how many. Oops, let's see. Where's this thing? There we go. Yeah, here, I'll run them again so you can see them. Basically, I've got the same directory, same folder structure as in the project itself, and everything's pretty much named the same. So calendar collection view tests is all the tests for calendar collection view, for example. But anyway, you can see all my nice green tests. And that's pretty much it. Thanks.